Okay, good morning. You join us again on another one of our water cooler conversations. Obviously, still in lockdown, still all at home. This morning, I'm joined by Lisa, our recruitment lead, once again, but also someone from a distant shores. Joining us this morning from South Africa is JP, a specialist immigration lawyer, who is now sort of assisting dentists in a post-Brexit world, both dentists and dental practices in a post-Brexit world, with coming to the UK to work. So thank you for joining us this morning, JP, and hello.
Yeah, it's the greatest of pleasure. Sunny South Africa today. Hopefully, COVID dependent back to the UK tomorrow.
Well, yeah, as you can see, it's very attractive. Pouring down with rain.
Very rainy. Very rainy. Send some of that sunshine our way, JP, please.
I'll do my best, guys. I'll do my best.
Thank you.
So Lisa, I think you had a few questions sort of that you're getting coming up quite a bit from practices and candidates at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, sort of one of the main questions that I'm getting asked at the moment, JP, from candidates, not only that have qualified sort of within Europe, but candidates that have qualified outside of Europe, is how they go about now working as a dentist in the UK. Obviously, there's been lots of changes, obviously, sort of post-Brexit, and you're the expert. So can you give us sort of some idea as to sort of the process that they would need to undertake to start working in the UK?
Yeah, happy to. It's actually interesting to sort of see the way the immigration landscape now looks post-Brexit. And I think of particular importance is it creates opportunities in a sense, but it also makes things a little bit more difficult for the European dentists. So for European dentists, of course, in the past, in terms of immigration, they could simply just go to the UK and they could start working as long as they've got the necessary approval from the Dental Council, et cetera, et cetera. They didn't need work permits, visas, anything of that nature. Other dentists, South African dentists, American dentists, and so forth, of course, always needed work permits. Now, what the British government has done to sort of try and ease the process a little bit is to make the work permit route slightly less restrictive and also a little bit cheaper, which is a good thing always. Yeah. So one of the things they've done is it used to be called a Tier 2 work permit. It's now called the skilled worker visa. And the long and the short of it is that the employer, so let's say a dental practice or the NHS or whomever, can now sponsor a foreign worker, which would now include European citizens who have not already been to the UK and who have not already applied for what's known as pre-settled status. They can employ them, and normally it's a 5-year period of employment, and then they can apply for indefinite leave to remain and British citizenship thereafter. The burden has been lessened, Lisa. So the practice doesn't have to advertise the position to the extent and justify why they want to employ that foreign dentist to the extent they had to do before. It's a very good thing. They have also taken away an annual cap. There used to be a limit of about 22,500 work permits, generally speaking, that could be issued on an annual basis, which if you look at the size of the UK labour market is not a lot. They've completely taken that away. So that has now opened up the opportunity for dentists and dental practices, I suppose, to employ more dentists and for dentists to be employed more easily by the dental practices moving forward. So I think in that sense, it's actually looking good for non-European dentists. And European dentists, I mean, dentists will qualify easily for work permits. So it's just a little bit more hassle for them, but not impossible.
Okay, brilliant. So obviously that's sort of candidates that are looking to come into the UK. How about sort of dentists that are already based in the UK that may have been European qualified? I mean, what would sort of be the process for them? Has that sort of changed also, sort of in a post-Brexit world, if you like?
It has, yeah. So from an immigration point of view, it's incredibly important for any potential European, especially, citizens who are practicing as dentists in the UK to apply for what's known as pre-settled status or settled status. Mm-hmm. Effectively, it's the British government's way of trying to, first of all, see which Europeans are in the UK currently, but also for European nationals to regularize their stay so that they can stay on in the UK, work without restriction in this now post-Brexit world. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty simple process. The deadline, however, to do that would be the end of June this year, 2021. So it's particularly important for them to do that. If they need any information, of course, they're more than welcome to reach out to us and we'll be able to assist them with that. But that is really, really important. In terms of dentists who are maybe on a tier 2 permit with a dental practice, if they now want to move from one practice to the next, that process has also been made a little bit easier. We refer to that as switching employment from one to the other. So that's been made a little bit easier for them. It's a process still that one has to go through, but it's not as exhaustive as it used to be pre the end of free movement, Brexit.
Okay, brilliant. And I suppose another question that I sort of have as well, JP, obviously we've touched on there sort of dentists. How about sort of other dental professionals such as dental hygienists, for example, or dental nurses that would like to come and work as a nurse or a hygienist in the UK? Is there again a different process as to how they would go about doing that?
It's actually an excellent question, very relevant now to, again, this post-Brexit world we're living in. Effectively, of course, they'll need work permits or skilled worker permits, as it's now known. Now, the key thing there is that when one looks at whether or not a candidate qualifies for a skilled worker visa, one would normally look, for example, a dentist. It's pretty obvious, dentists, doctors, that kind of thing. They are all what's known as RQF level 6 positions. The UK government has this document called the Standard Occupational Codes, and one always has to look at that to see whether or not a specific job actually does qualify for somebody to be sponsored on a skilled worker. Now, post-Brexit, that skill level has been brought down from a level 6, which would be a dentist, all the way to a level 3. Which effectively means, if you've got the equivalent of A-levels, or if the job requirement requires you to have the equivalent of A-levels, then it's much easier to now get work permits. So it might very well be the case that folks like dental hygienists and so forth, who of course play a very key role in the whole dental field, can now get work permits where they might not have been able to do so in the past. So it's definitely something that I would encourage them to look into.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know that, sort of going even before Brexit, sort of dentists that have qualified outside of the UK, they've been such an integral part to the industry. And that's the same, sort of said for dental nurses and hygienists as well. So it's really great to hear that, actually, that it's a lot easier now for them to do that. And just sort of touch on the subject of locums. I know that you mentioned there about sort of self-employed sort of moving from practice to practice. How would it work for a dentist that wants to come over and just specifically do locum work? Obviously working on a self-employed basis, but it may be that they're offered contracts from one practice for 6 months and then you get another contract for another 12 months. Would they be able to do that as they were able to before?
So currently the short answer is no, they can't, because if one looks at the sponsorship regime, you have to be sponsored by a practice. Now, if you're sponsored by a practice, you have to work for that practice. Or, if the practice is a group of practices, depending on each and every specific scenario, so I can't advise about naming all the practicals, but they could work within the group of practices, I would imagine. There currently isn't a visa that would allow dentists who haven't already been to the UK, for example, European dentists, of course, already in the UK, who will apply for pre-settled status, or who might have done so already, they can do whatever they want. But for new migrants, they will be stuck, effectively, if you will, with one dental practice or practice group moving forward. For the time being, the British government did announce that they are bringing back, we're not too sure when, a pure points-based system route, which would effectively mean, you'll get points for your qualification as a dentist, you'll get points for your previous income and your age and so on. And of course, if that comes in and they apply for that, then they can do whatever they want in the UK, including doing locum work.
Brilliant. Okay.
Brilliant. We have, thank you for your time, JP. Obviously, we are slightly limited on time. Wouldn't be fair to you to get the end of the video without saying, obviously, what firm you work for. So if anyone does want to sort of talk to you further, BIC Immigration, is that? What's the web address where people can sort of find you on?
Yeah, so it's bic-immigration.com. My email address, please email me directly if you would like. JPB, which is John Paul Breytenbach, a long one. So it's just JPB at bic-immigration.com. And me and my team would be more than happy to assist.
Great, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Fantastic, JP. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.